For more on this subject, I want to bring in John Yoo. He's a UC Berkeley law professor and a former deputy assistant attorney general. John, good to have you on the show, sir.
Oh, great. Great to be with you again.
So give me your sense of, first of all, TikTok, what we should do about them, and what kind of wiggle room, if any, President Trump has here to keep it alive.
But let me say, I think most of President Trump's executive orders are constitutional and legal in areas like immigration and foreign policy, national security. They're making a lot of important changes. But I think this TikTok extension has a problem. And the main problem is that there doesn't seem to be any authority for President Trump to extend the period for TikTok either to close or be sold. Congress actually tried to do Trump a favor. They said by the day before he took the presidential oath, which was yesterday. So on January 19th, the law said TikTok either had to be closed or sold. So President Trump, it's kind of like as a professor, I can't give an extension to any student after the exam period's over. Once the exam period's over, it's over.
As I understand it, isn't there a provision inside of the law that does permit the president to grant a 90-day extension to TikTok on the condition that a buyer be in the process of obtaining it?
Yes. Yeah, so that's the second problem is that even if President Trump could extend the period, which, I don't think he can because the period's over already. But even if he could, President Trump can only do it if there's already been progress towards a sale, if there's already legal agreements in place to execute the sale, if there's evidence that there's a buyer and what they're doing. And, fortunately, TikTok had 270 days, and repeatedly they said they would not sell. And so they made no efforts to try to and this is very important because, of course, President Trump, when he was in office the first time, he's the one who actually tried to force a closure of TikTok because he and his staff realized the Chinese Communist Party was trying to use it to gather data on 170 million Americans.
Okay, so TikTok, you don't just obtain TikTok like through osmosis. You've got to go to an app store.
Yeah.
In order to pick up TikTok. You got to go to Apple, you got to go to Google, and you have to navigate to it and download it. Is there any peril for Apple or Google to continue offering TikTok on their stores right now?
Vince, you do a better job of reading statutes than my students out here at Berkeley. That's a really important element that people are not reporting in the press, is that this bill, not only does it say that TikTok had to have closed on Sunday or sold, it also says anybody else who distributes the program, who hosts the program. So you're right. It actually goes beyond just the names you list, like Apple Store, Google Play. It also includes Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle. If they're hosting any of TikTok on their cloud services, they're all liable too. And the fines are steep. The fines are, it's unbelievable, $5,000 per TikTok user per day.
Yes.
So we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars of fines that potentially could be levied on our biggest tech companies.
But those fines would be assessed by the executive branch, correct? Or is this a matter for the judicial branch? Because President Trump, obviously now back in office, he can instruct the Justice Department to back off of these companies if he so desires and to not pursue them for violations of the law. What kind of latitude does the president have here as the chief executive to give a reprieve to all of these companies?
Yeah. So here's where it really gets difficult. Is you're right, Vince. The statute also says that only the attorney general can bring a suit for these fines. Although, look, how many times has President Trump changed his mind on something?
Yes.
He may say you get 70 days now, but he could change his mind tomorrow. And tomorrow, those fines could start, and the Justice Department could start prosecuting. But the other thing is, look, if you're a shareholder, if you have any Apple stock, or I have Apple stock, I could sue Apple and say you are risking the company to hundreds of billions of dollars in fines if you were to distribute TikTok. And I'm a shareholder. You're ruining the value of the company.
Interesting.
That's a very common thing to do. The other thing is states' attorney general. So states could say, why can't I investigate now? Why can't I go after TikTok? They're selling, if you're Apple, right, if you're Google, why can't the Attorney General of New York, who likes to sue everybody from what I can tell, why can't the Attorney General of New York say, oh, these companies are now selling a product in my state that's illegal under federal law?
Yeah. Wait until they find out about marijuana. Which of course has been happening forever. Speaking of Apple and Google, it is worth mentioning that as of this hour, apparently on both the Apple and the Google app stores, TikTok is not available right now. So those two companies are heeding the language of this law. But the president is again at the moment, it seems to be he's extending the period in which users who already have it downloaded are going to be able to keep using the platform. And by the way, I should also point out that TikTok has been very much sucking up to President Trump throughout this entire period, including with a message that they posted to their own app this week, thanking him for keeping the app alive. So there's a lot of politicking going on amidst all of this, John Yoo.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But look, TikTok is such an advantage for China to have to try to conduct intelligence on the United States. I can see why they're sucking up to President Trump. They're desperate to keep their service open. They don't want to sell it or turn it over to anyone else because that would ruin the advantage it gives them. Well,
just, outside of the legal aspect of it now, one of my concerns is that if all of a sudden China comes out and says, okay, yeah, we found a seller that we found a buyer rather that we found acceptable in the United States. I don't know about you, John, but I would be deeply suspicious of the buyer if China has given them the big green check mark as the kind of person who can buy TikTok.
Yes, and that's a great point. And the law tries to make it difficult for anyone who's kind of affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party or with the real owners of TikTok to sort of create some kind of shell company and buy it. So you really want to make sure it goes 100%, not 50%, not 25%, 100%. To really an independent American buyer. And that hasn't happened. There's been 270 days to see if that happened. Now, President Trump's a great deal maker, and maybe he can find a solution to this. But the easiest thing for him to do would just be to let TikTok close and close this way for China to surveil us.
Finally, we've kind of talked about a lot of it. I think you really kind of satisfied the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Is there a reason why he went with 75 days in your view rather than the 90 that appears in the statute?
Well, I think that he doesn't want to. I mean, if he's smart, he doesn't want to make it 90 days because he doesn't want to make it seem like he's relying on that provision of the statute. He's just, according to the White House right now, he's just told the Justice Department, hold off on enforcing the law for a few days. Right? But hopefully, I think he and his aides are looking at this problem now, and they're going to realize this is not our problem. This is TikTok's problem, and we can just step aside and let the law take effect, and TikTok should step forward and comply with the law. Why does President Trump want to save them from their own bad decisions?
There's no question what this is. This is a Chinese Communist Party operation, both as a PSYOP and as a national security data collection operation. And in fact, if you go back in time, President Trump said as much in his first administration, which is why he banned it from government devices in the first place. And I hope he gets back to that. I think he's doing a fantastic job as president. And this is one of those areas where he can really stick it to an adversary. But we'll see. He's trying to make deals, and maybe something good comes out of all this. Hey, John Yoo, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and wisdom today, sir.